Traders, Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com, November 29th, 2020. In this edition of your weekend video newsletter, we'll reflect on Cyber Monday and the highs put in last week by the Dow Jones and the Nasdaq Composite, both hitting record highs. With Black Friday sales and anticipated Cyber Monday sales, Amazon and Shopify are both pressing higher, while CrowdStrike and Zoom both report earnings this week. All of our tech stocks moved higher with the exception of Apple, which is off a bit, slightly more than 0.5%, while Tesla rose sharply again last week. The bond stock ratio, junk and high yield corporate debt all point to a bullish scenario for this week, as the S&P 1500 and the XII ARCA Institutional Index both remain on a bullish signal. Breadth is improving and volatility is dropping. In addition, we also saw the US dollar at 2-year lows, which is affecting the European markets in a positive way, with most international ETFs rising last week again, with a backdrop of bonds moving modestly higher last week. That said, gold is off. It's bearish. That's showing there's no safety trade or concern by institutions at this time. Copper is bullish. It broke out again last week. And West Texas crude broke above the 42 barrel resistance level, closing at 45.53 after a 26-week range was broken in the bullish direction. Heat maps continue to improve for both the S&P 500 sectors and international markets. This week we'll look at an extended list of IBD 50 Market Smith Growth Relative Strength names, stocks funds are buying, and stocks from the Blue Dot Scan, as well as the Dow Industrials. All of these stocks look good, with price action set to move higher this week. Finally, we have Bukowski with a green CPI signal at 94.4%. That's bullish, with one bearish pattern, 17 bullish patterns, and 374 patterns waiting for breakout. We have 17 bullish indicators, 2 neutral indicators, and 1 bearish going into this week. Bottom line, trends are bullish, breadth is bullish, with the S&P 500 resistance at 3,700 and support at 3,600, focusing on Cyber Monday results this week. Spiders closed at the highs of the week above major volume by price support and resistance levels, while RSI remains above 50, MACD is above its signal line, and stochastics is pointing higher, embedded above 80. Volume was below average only because we closed at 1 p.m. In addition, the Nasdaq Composite closed at all-time highs, with RSI suggesting the trend can continue, while the Dow Industrial Average pierced 30,000 for the first time ever, closing only slightly below on Friday. With the S&P 1500 remaining on a bullish signal, these 500 big caps, 400 mid caps, and 600 small caps suggest that we should see more upside. 1,500 stocks with breadth improving, and all three moving away from the 200 period moving average. Advanced decline percent, suggesting we could see more upside, as VIX starts off the week on a bullish signal. Additional broad market breadth indicators like NIMO, the McClellan oscillator for the NYSE 2900 stocks. Black line is rising, the trend is bullish, as we see echoed in the New York Stock Exchange advanced decline, clear and above the green zone, making higher highs and higher lows, while the number of new highs minus new lows improved by 35.7% last week. The black line continues to rise, which is telling you the trend is higher, With all of the preceding confirmed by the Wilshire 5000 Composite Index breaking out to all-time highs as well, with RSI above 50 and rising, suggesting further upside is possible on above average volume, with the cycle turning upward on the weekly time frame, also confirming and suggesting we could see more upside in the weeks to come, with additional confirmation of the election year seasonal pattern that we pointed out before the election, potentially moving higher into December and January. The bond stock ratio is dropping. That's bullish for equities. Confirmed with junk bonds on the weekly time frame as they move higher, bullish for equities. Also echoed by high yield corporate debt on the weekly time frame, moving higher, RSIs above 50 and rising, with the 10-year making higher highs and higher lows. We need to see a higher high this week. Momentum continues to rise and bullish. The US dollar continues to show weakness below its 50-day moving average, with RSI showing and suggesting lower prices in the near term, which is impacting commodities like copper. As the dollar moves lower, copper is moving higher. This is bullish for construction-related names, builders, and home improvement. In addition to West Texas crude, which broke above the $42 a barrel mark, rising last week after a 26-week range, breaking out, moving higher. That's bullish for equities, while gold continued lower. This is showing you there's no safety trade or concern by institutions as gold moves lower, approaching that $1,700 mark where we might see some support going into year end. Sectors were improving again last week, with the exception of medical devices and utilities, with most international ETFs trading near highs last week. Individual sector strength showing up in consumer discretionary and technology, looking for some follow-through in financials and industrials into year end. Here is the IBD 50 stock list for the week of 11/29. Recall that last time we discussed stochastics was out of sync with MACD and RSI, like we see with applied materials. This week, however, we have some stocks like Adobe and Amazon showing RSI rising through 50, price action moving back above the 9 and 21 day, and potentially some support resistance levels, while stochastics turns from oversold. This was the condition we were looking for, rather than last week where many of these stocks had RSI, MACD, and stochastics out of sync. We also see Amazon setting up properly, price action pushing higher, about to get above these volume by price bands, RSI is above 50, and now we have stochastic and MACD both in sync. MACD is rising as well as stochastic, setting up nicely on Amazon, volume increasing. Contrast that with applied materials. We have RSI showing muscle, strength of trend, while stochastic and MACD are both at highs. Looking for a little bit of a consolidation of recent gains or a pullback in the short term. Bristol Myers Squibb with RSI above 50, price above the 9, 21, and 50 day. We're looking for MACD to turn. Stochastics is starting to turn now. Histogram bars are starting to move towards zero. If we see a continuation in activity in pharmaceutical and biotech stocks this week, Bristol Myers might follow through and push back up to 66 and then maybe break out in the short term. Builders First Source playing up on the copper bullish scenario we discussed earlier. Looking for a follow through. This was on previous watch list. Continues this trend above the 9 EMA. RSI suggesting higher prices. And MACD with stochastics at highs. Cadence Design Systems showing what I'm looking for, where we have RSI rising above 50, price above volume by price support, above the 921 and 50-day as well, volume increasing, and stochastics and MACD in sync, both turning higher to start us off Monday and Tuesday. Crocs on previous watch lists continue this trend. RSI is drifting now lower. You can see how these are in sync. MACD turning and stochastics turning from overbought. Looking for this to pull back perhaps to the 21-day and bounce, get all of these indicators to sync up again. Maybe we turn at 50 like we did previously many times since June, while the trend continues up in Crocs and price stays above the 9 and 21-day with RSI above 50. Watch for that pullback this week in Crocs. Digital Turbine, looking for this to follow through. 9 and 21-day are fairly flat. Looking for those to turn up. RSI is rising. Prices above volume by price support. Volume is starting to increase. MACD is flat to slightly higher. And stochastics is having a difficult time turning up and staying in a bullish trend. That said, if price starts to move, we could see all of that change and test these previous 52-week highs, potentially breaking out this week. Dollar General running on the trend in consumer discretionary going into the holidays, spending. Nice follow through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. RSI above 50 starting off this week. MACD has crossed and stochastics is rising, telling you to anticipate closes in the upper half of the daily range. Perhaps we test 52-week highs in the short term. Etsy showing relative strength last week, breaking out to fresh 52-week highs, all-time highs. RSI rising above 50, suggesting there is more upside. Maybe we get a flag and a follow-through. At any rate, a day trade looks possible. Let's see how it starts off Monday and Tuesday. Volume was above average, and stochastics now embedded. Watch for that to continue higher this week. Facebook, we've been watching for a push off of the 21-day. Stays above the 9 EMA. RSI is sort of flat. We want to see that rising as well. Moves above this volume by price area, we could quickly run back up to 304 in the weeks following. MACD is turning, looks like it wants to cross, and stochastics is turning higher. These are in sync, so I'm looking for above average volume Monday or Tuesday, perhaps a follow through. RSI starts to move higher, and price accelerates. Futu from previous watch lists looks like it's ready to pull back in a little bit more this week. RSI, MACD, and stochastics are all in sync, suggesting more downside. Volume picked up last week. Look for a bounce at 21-day, potentially a test of this breakout level, a pullback to breakout as we remain bullish in this stock after a short-term pullback or consolidation. Generac Holdings, generators, looking for a breakout of this consolidation pattern. RSI is rising. Stochastics and MACD are setting up, starting to turn together. Whole Logic looking very strong here, right at the 50-day moving average and volume by price. Look at RSI, about to punch through 50 and follow through. Closed at 50.71 last week. MACD is turning along with stochastics. Looking for volume to pick up this week on HOLX. Horizon Therapeutics trying to turn. Note RSI is below 50. So it's not quite the setup that I like to see. I like to trade above the 9 and 21-day, not below. It's most likely going to get rejected at 72. If it doesn't, it'll suggest that MACD and stochastics, now in sync, could be forecasting a move back towards the 50-day. A lot of overhead resistance at the 21-day and then the 50-day before achieving a potential reversal back up to the highs. So it's a little bit more risky, but certainly a possibility. Innovative Industrial Properties. This company buys and leases back properties to cannabis growing industry group names, which all saw some potential follow through for this week, with the House Majority Leader mentioning a bill to legalize cannabis. Debatable whether or not it'll pass the Senate, but that's out there, and we did see some bullish follow through in many of the cannabis stocks last week, so watch for IIPR to follow through as well. Logitech, nice reversal off of the 50-day. RSI is rising. MACD and stochastics in sync. MACD crossing, stochastics rising. We're looking for a follow through. Volume starting to pick up, all of which suggest a potential test of 52-week highs in the short term. Should semiconductors follow through this week, we're watching AMD, NVIDIA, LRCX, Marvell, Micron, and many others that are in this space. Looking for a follow through here with NVIDIA. Move back above the 50-day. Stochastics set up. MACD is in sync. Looking for volume and RSI to rise back above 50. Potentially retesting the 52-week highs. Separately, we're watching for PKI from previous watch lists to do something. Move off the 50-day. Last time we got a nice rally off the 50-day. MACD and stochastics were set up, moving higher. Looks like we're going to set up again. Watch MACD could turn as a function of price, of course. RSI is back above 50 already. Looks like we might get a follow through this week on PKI. With the same thoughts on pool, different industry group, of course. RSI rising through 50. Price back above the 921 and 50-day moving averages. MACD and stochastics both in sync and turning. In addition to watching for strength in biotechs and pharmaceuticals, we're watching stocks like Argen, Repligen to continue higher. Price back above the 921 and 50-day. Stochastics turning first. MACD looks like it could get in sync real quick. Volume pick up. RSI suggesting there's more upside. Looking for a follow through this week. In addition to Ritchie Brothers, which we mentioned last week for a follow through, we finally got the bounce on Wednesday. Followed through. RSI is rising now. Volume's picking up a little bit. I'd like to see higher volume above average. Stochastics and MACD both in sync. This could forecast a nice follow through this week. 72, 74, maybe 76 in the short term. Service now a few days off of the 50-day moving average. RSI above 50. MACD has already crossed and stochastics is nearing 80. Forecasting some more follow through, maybe a test of 52-week highs for potential day trade or short term swing. We also had follow through in stocks like Synopsys, SNPS, following through, pushing strong through the 50-day moving average, closing above the 9 and 21-day, RSI rising. MACD has turned and stochastic both in sync, looking for above average volume this week perhaps, and it pushed back up to 52-week highs. In addition to NVIDIA, Marvell, Micron, AMD, we're watching all of these semiconductor stocks for some follow through this week as well. Taiwan Semiconductor, another name in this group. Tractor Supply emerging again from these lows, lower lows, looking for a higher high now. Move above this pivot. We closed above the 50-day. RSI is rising. Above average volume last week. 2 of 4 days. Looking for a follow through now and a continuation back up to 52-week highs. We've been watching Viva Systems for the past couple of weeks. We're looking for price action to get back above the 50-day. Taking a little time to get there, but RSI suggests we could see more upside. Price action looking pretty strong. Volume picking up on Friday. MACD and stochastics both turning higher. Look for Viva Systems to test the 50-day, maybe Monday or Tuesday. If it can follow through and close above that level, look for a test of this pivot at 377 in the short term. VIP Shops holdings from previous watch lists, that just continues higher. MACD, RSI, and stochastics all are embedded, showing strength of trend, relative strength to the markets. Additionally, there's some stocks on the opening monologue that were showing relative strength. IBD's stocks on the move BEKE looking for a follow-through RSI to move back above 50 along with price action. Stochastics and MACD turn and move higher. While the same can be said for monolithic power systems, MPWR, stocks on the move list. Following through last week, RSI rising, MACD turning along with stochastics and volume increasing. Look for this one to test 52-week highs short term. Along with Sutro Biopharma, looking for a follow-through off of the 9 and 21-day RSIs turning back up, volume increasing on Friday. Stochastics turning at 50. Watch MACD if it turns back up. It'll be a function of price. Looking for tests of 52-week highs. Turtle Beach, HEAR, riding the trend in gaming. Following through last week, moving back above the 9 and 21-day. Big sideways range for the most part. Potential to test the upper parts of the range this week. MACD's turned and crossed, and stochastics is rising. Sonova Energy, one of the stocks from the list IBD has of stocks that funds are buying. Continuation, showing relative strength, breaking out on Monday, following through on above average volume. MACD and stochastics both at highs. Watching how this one trades over the next several weeks. In addition to stocks from the Blue Dot scan, MarketSmith puts together, there was about 6 stocks breaking higher last week. BLFS was one of them, breaking out of this nice consolidation pattern. Stochastics and MACD both turning at the same time in sync along with RSI, suggesting we could see more upside. Just need to see more volume. So make sure you check out some of these other stocks in the opening monologue from the MarketSmith Blue Dot scan. Also these stocks in green that funds are buying. In addition to the Dow Industrials, these 5 stocks are set up the best going into this week. Okay, traders, that's going to do it for me. This is because Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com. It is November the 29th, 2020, with your weekend video newsletter. I'll send out a watch list later tonight around 11:30 on the East Coast, 8:30 on the West Coast, so be sure to check your inbox for that. Otherwise, have a great weekend. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.